Actually, let's go ahead and
we're talking about the NBA now. Yeah, just move right into it.
Yeah, is that Patrick Beverley hitting the deck there, and Dwight Howard being a child, of course. So let's play into.
You have always hated Dwight Howard.
I have always hated Dwight Howard.
You said even before, even when everyone loved him before he did his whole drama thing. You said you hated. Dwight Howard. It started
with if you remember the slam dunk contest, he had the audacity to have a picture of himself that he posted on the backboard as he dunked, and I just found that distasteful and obnoxious. And ever since then, I've actually rooted pretty much against Dwight Howard. Now, the NBA is going to pick up here on Tuesday, which I think we're all excited for. Now, Justin, what is your top headline going into the season as a NBA fan?
Top headline.
Is it the three-peat possibility?
I think it is.
Is it a three-peat?
I mean, that hasn't been seen since 2000.
2001 and 2002.
When Lakers
beat the Pacers in 2000. They beat the Sixers in 2001, the Nets in 2002, and then in 2004 is when they lost to the Larry Brown coached Detroit Pistons.
I just think that the three-peat's a great story for the NBA.
I'm tired of it.
I know you, but that's the thing. Everyone's rooting against it. It's like does LeBron have the drive to pull us? Does he have just that drive that he had for 1 and 2, just to pull his team like Jordan did? Jordan dragged that team in the '98 championship.
I know.
I
heard this.
They don't win unless it's him.
Yeah, they also pushed off and got away with the Jordan rules. Chuck Daly was the only person who could ever devise a game plan to stop Michael Jordan
until Jordan figured it out.
Yeah, until he figured it out. Now, let's take a look at the Miami Heat. And, we've made some additions. We've lost some in the offseason, but we've picked up some people. We got Greg Oden and Michael Beasley jumping in there.
Two low risk. I mean, they're high. They're
low risk,
high risk players.
Yeah, high reward.
High reward. There you go.
Yeah, but Spoelstra has now been coaching them for 6 years, which makes me feel old. It makes me feel very old. And then LeBron had averaged 28, 8, and 7 last year in the regular season. And that's just numbers that we haven't seen in a long time. And then that makes you just wonder, can the Heat find other people when they need to? Because the defenses at some point are going to at least be able to get bodies in front of LeBron. And he's gotten better at passing. He's really better seeing the floor. But Dwayne Wade averaged 21 points last year.
Can Dwayne Wade be healthy?
Yeah, I don't think
that's key for the three-peat.
I don't think that there's any way that Dwayne Wade can shoot 52% from the floor. I just don't see it. Not that that's what he shot last year. I just don't think that. I don't think that he can stay healthy long enough for that to happen. Miami obviously is probably the favorite going into the year. But Justin,
the very top heavy East this year. This will be their toughest road to the finals.
Oh, it will.
Hands down, this will be their toughest road to the finals this year.
And actually, since we're already on it, let's just stay in the East. And there's not much else in the East instead of Miami.
Back.
I mean, we know what Miami has. We know their talent. We know what everyone thinks. But let's start getting into some of the juicier stories. And you're right. We'll go right to Chicago. And they got Derrick Rose returning.
And he's been awesome in preseason.
Yeah, well, actually, if you saw last week, they had the Indiana-Chicago preseason game, and it was almost like a playoff game.
Yeah.
I mean, Derrick Rose stayed in well throughout the fourth quarter, and the players even were commented saying that they felt like it was a playoff game, even though it was a preseason game. I mean, this Rose return is huge. There was a lot of controversy in the playoffs last year about whether or not he should return or shouldn't return. I love Tom Thibodeau. I'm an absolute Tom Thibodeau fanatic. I think the fact that the U.S. basketball organization added him to the staff is going to pay dividends off at the FIBA World Cup next year and the Olympics in 2016. I just think that he's a genius. I think that he's getting better offensively. It's all based on screens, and it's been based on two principles: getting Rose to the basket and getting their shooters open on the wings.
Yep.
And then if needed to dump the ball down in, because you have great passers in the post. I mean, Joakim Noah besides his defensive abilities, no one makes passes better than Joakim Noah out of the post position, which I would prefer as opposed to Dwight Howard, who will wait 8 seconds, dribble twice and just throw it up and complain about a foul.
Yep.
Now, you have Mike Dunleavy coming in off the bench, which it's somewhat concerning. He kind of doesn't really fit the defensive mold of what Chicago's all about. But I'm looking. You got Rose, Jimmy Butler, who I recently saw a thing that determined it came out between Jimmy Butler and Paul George and who was better at defending LeBron. And I think Jimmy Butler is bigger and stronger than Paul George, and I think he's more willing to do it.
He came out with a bang last year.
No, he did. I am a huge.
You made them forget Luol Deng was out for a good portion of the season.
I mean, and Luol Deng's back; he's healthy now. So you got those three in the backcourt. You got Boozer and Noah up front. You got Heimer coming off the bench. I like it. I do. Now I don't know if they can take down Miami, but I don't think there's any question that, regardless of how good the Pacers were last year, I think that. There's no question that Chicago is number 2 in the East at this point. Now, it seems to be the big debate between people is who's 3, and is it the Pacers or is it this new look Brooklyn Nets team?
I'm not a fan of the Nets.
You're not a fan of the Nets. Well, then let's talk about the Nets since we're there. What do you not like about the Nets?
Jason Kidd is a coach. I'm sorry.
Really?
I've
actually grown to be excited about it, but I'll let you tear him down first. Go ahead and attack him first.
It's not that I really feel that Jason Kidd could do great. I feel Jason Kidd would do well with a young team.
Oh, I totally disagree. I totally disagree.
You think he's going to do better with the veteran? I just feel like with the veterans, if they start sucking, they're going to be like, wow, it's we're going to just blame us on Kidd. He has no idea what he's doing.
I don't think that it's possible with the lineup they have to suck. First of all, I just based on the way that basketball and any sport works. I mean, this lineup: Deron Williams, Joe Johnson, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Brooke Lopez. That starting 5 is in the top of any division.
Yeah. So if they start to struggle, who they're going to blame it on? The first-year head coach.
But I don't think they're going to. I think that Jason Kidd has such a pedigree with the players because he played with them that they're going to focus. And I still think that you're, ignoring the total key in this whole equation, and that's Lawrence Frank. And Lawrence Frank as a top assistant. You remember Lawrence Frank came in as an unknown.
What has Lawrence Frank done?
And Lawrence Frank came in as an unknown, and he led an undefeated streak with the Jason Kidd-led Nets, which made Kidd, as a player, look up to Frank. Yes, Frank struggled at a few of his stats, but he's one of the most respected coaches in the league. The players never turned on Frank. Frank's never lost a locker room. He's just had struggles with players and the rotations and just the bad teams he's been on. I mean, that Detroit team, that he inherited a mess up there and really was never given a proper chance. I think he's an excellent behind-the-scenes guy. I think that having him as the associate head coach, he's going to have that binder of crucial plays to go to. He's going to have that binder full of scouting reports that's going to go to. And Kidd's going to have the motivation and the push and the I've been there, I've been there, I've beaten you as a player in many of these points. I was on a team to beat the Heat. I think he just has that pedigree. I know. But that doesn't take away the fact that I love the Pacers as well. But I am worried.
I think my problem with Kidd is I just feel that so many guys put in the time and effort and kind of got over. Brian Shaw always got overlooked. Kidd retired 2 days later, had a good coaching job. Yeah, he didn't put his time in.
The difference is, Brian Shaw was a rotation player.
I just feel like Kidd didn't put his time in on the benches. I think he would have done better as an assistant for a couple of years and then got his head coach.
But let's think about this. Brian Shaw, who, no disrespect to, but you got Brian Shaw, who had a long NBA career as a role player, and then took a step back and was an assistant for many years in a number of different teams, originally Los Angeles, then with Indiana.
Yep.
And then you have Jason Kidd, who was a Hall of Fame caliber player. Do you think that he would not bring unwanted attention as an assistant with the name value? No offense to Brian Shaw, but when I hear Brian Shaw's on a bench, I'm like, I expect him to be there. But if Jason Kidd's an assistant, don't you think that there's going to be more media attention put on him?
Well, not necessarily. Look, Patrick Ewing. He's been an assistant coach for 10 or 12 years.
It's true. That's a fair point. Patrick Ewing has been around for quite a while.
He's gotten passed over for so many head coaching jobs.
Yeah, but
maybe that's just because he's not a very good head coach. I don't know.
Yeah.
But guys like Patrick Ewing been on the bench for 10 plus years, and Kidd gets a job in 2 days. That's just I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how Brian Shaw does.
How he does. I think the Nuggets are taking a step back this year.
Yeah.
I think they're going to struggle.
But let's look at his old team first. Let's go to the Pacers. Let's transfer over to the Pacers.
Your third team, you're saying?
I am saying. But there are
7 games of the Heat.
Yeah, but there are some issues. There definitely are some issues.
If Granger comes back and fits in well with them.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge dynamic.
Huge.
How's Paul George and Danny Granger going to work together? Can George Hill be a point guard in this league? Can George Hill? He struggled.
Played well last year for them.
He struggled so much in the playoffs. He struggled.
DJ Augustine played well for them after struggling in Charlotte. As a backup. Yeah,
but that again, you really have you're going between DJ Augustine and George Hill.
Well, I mean,
and there's no third. I mean, if you're going third, you're looking at Lance Stevenson, and I feel that Lance Stevenson's treated very unfairly in the media. I'm a Lance Stevenson fan because
Lance Stevenson gets a hard
rap. Yeah, he gets a hard rap, but he does do absurd. But
he does. But even when he does, like when something's minor, it just feels like the Reggie Miller has a vendetta.
Yeah, I can see it. It always felt that way.
I mean, it's not even close. He just rips him apart.
Yeah, he does rip him apart, and it's outrageous because Lance Stevenson's a phenomenal athlete. But you got David West, Hibbert. Hibbert's outstanding. This Louis Scola, that's an interesting drop in there. So I don't know. We'll have to see how Frank Vogel comes up with his plan. Can they get back to the conference finals? I think they can, but I don't know if they're going to. I really see this as a league where we're gonna have, the Heat, the Pacers, the Nets, and the Bulls playing in the second round.
Yep.
And I really don't see. I mean, if the Knicks, I mean, they're taking a step back, I think, and then I think it drops off. I mean, you got Atlanta, we have Washington, Toronto. I mean, we're really working our way down. Real quick, with the West, Justin, who do you think is the top of the West? I mean, we have this newfound debate of the,
Well, the Spurs are going to be up there. They're just the same. I mean,
yeah, but I think they're going
every year you think the Spurs are going to fall off.
I think this might be the year where they actually do fall off. But we have this new
Oklahoma City's out with Westbrook out. I mean,
yeah, Oklahoma City,
Houston. It depends on the Harden injury we just saw.
Yeah, but I think you're so overlooking who a lot of people are picking to be their top team.
The other LA team.
Which is the LA team, which is the Doc Rivers-led Los Angeles Clippers.
I missed them. Just let you intro them.
Oh, well, thank you. I am going to intro them. Doc Rivers, legendary coach, who, in similar vein to Jason Kidd, didn't have a whole lot of coaching experience when he became a head coach. Now he didn't have the same.
He's done pretty well for himself.
Yeah, I'd say he's done pretty well for himself. But think about this. Now, I didn't know about this Chris Paul and JJ Redick hate fest.
Oh, I know.
I saw that on Bells Don't Lie, which is Brian Shaw's favorite line, but actually is the name of a blog on Yahoo. And they were talking about this fact that Jason Kidd, I don't know where that name came from, that JJ Redick and Chris Paul hated each other and didn't speak for years. And these old ACC Tobacco Road rivalries really came to the forefront, and now they're being asked to take this backcourt of Los Angeles really on their own.
They dropped the beef.
Yeah, because apparently their wives are best friends, and if the women are happy, it makes the men happy. How many?
JJ Redick wasn't an easy guy to like.
And how many male friendships are based around the females getting along? I would say that regardless of who you are, that's a pretty big thing.
JJ Redick was an a-hole.
Yeah, you can say asshole. You can say asshole on the air. We're not owned or controlled by any group other than ourselves. So you can say whatever you need to.
No censorship.
There's no censorship on the basement observation. There's no such thing. But you got those two. Then Jared Dudley at the 3. I don't know about that. A little concerned, but they can shoot. You got 3 people that can shoot the 3 right there, and then you got the 2 behemoths inside, Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan. But I'm starting to wonder, is the athleticism wearing off
for Blake Griffin?
For either
or the whole team?
And I'm just talking specifically about Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan. The whole mystique with their physical abilities.
They're dunkers.
I know. But is that starting to is me or you or anyone being awed and amazed by that and masking their total deficiencies as basketball players?
I'll tell you what really bothers
me. Is that taking away? Is that finally starting to wear off? Well, we're realizing these guys aren't that good.
I mean, they're great. What, 4 years now?
Yeah.
No post game?
No. I mean, DeAndre Jordan can't
even. One of
his
jumpers last year when he hit the side of the backboard in the Warriors.
You're talking about
Blake Griffin. He took a jumper baseline, probably 10 feet from the hoop, hit the side of the backboard. I mean, he just, you would think 4 years in the NBA, you'd have a jumper, you'd have a post game. He's a dunker, not a great defender. He's a great pick and roll dunker with Chris Paul. He's Amari Stoudemire without a post game.
Amari Stoudemire without a post game. That's high praise. It's high praise for Blake Griffin. So SI was ballsy enough to pick them first in the conference, but they weren't willing to put them in the finals. They had the Oklahoma City Thunder in the finals, and they had the Thunder winning over the Heat. So we got Russell Westbrook. What's the deal with Westbrook? He'll be back. Is he gonna be ready for the first day of the season, Justin?
Westbrook?
Yeah.
No, he's out like the first 3 months.
Is it still the first?
They're expecting Christmas.
Is it that long? At least the first month of the season, second operation.
I've heard mostly after Christmas.
Yeah, and then so that's going to be an issue at the start
It's
here.
going to hurt the Thunder.
Yeah,
Put them in the playoffs.
Puts
a lot of scoring pressure on Kevin Durant.
Well, he'll be back by the time they're in the playoffs.
Oh no, I agree, but it's going to be tough for them to play without him.
Yeah, for the first.
That puts a definite scoring burden on Kevin Durant.
Yeah, but Kevin Durant also averaged 28 points a game last year. So how much of a scoring burden? And having Kevin Martin really helps because Kevin Martin.
He's gone.
Oh, he is gone. That's right.
Kevin Martin was one of the big.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I mean, just with Westbrook being out and Kevin Martin leaving for Minnesota.
That's true. You're right.
It just puts a huge scoring burden on Durant.
No, you're absolutely right. Now that I'm looking at my notes properly here, it is a huge scoring load because there's not much else there. But still,
what about your boy? Is he still there?
Which boy is my boy?
From the finals when I can't think of his name.
Oh, Royal Ivey. Royal Ivey. We're not even sure where in the league Royal Ivey shakes in. That I don't have that. In a near and dear piece of information.
Can't dig that deep in the internet.
And then we got the Spurs. You got Parker Green. It's the same. It's the same.
Yep, same.
It's the same.
It's the old guard.
Yeah, it's the old guard. I expect them to be in the playoffs. The question's going to be, can they hold up? Yep. Physically, can they hold up? Are they capable of holding it physically? And then, I think the Rockets are the Atlanta Hawks
that's
the Western Conference. I think that they'll win the first round.
Substance.
No, not so much.
Well, the Atlanta Hawks are going to fall off, I think, this year.
Yeah, but for years, the Atlanta Hawks were known as a team who would get to the second round every year
and lose.
And then lose in the second round. And I really think that's what the Houston Rockets are. The whole Jeremy Lin thing, I just can't get my head around it. I still think that Patrick Beverly is going to be a better point guard than Jeremy Lin.
McHale's on record of saying that he has 2 starting point guards on this team.
Yeah, well, that's Kevin McHale trying to not play favorites. Can Kevin McHale help Dwight Howard?
I'm not sure if anybody can help Dwight Howard.
Yeah, when Dwight Howard decides to help himself, I think we'll have an answer to that. James Harden, he's 26 points a game last year. I really didn't think that he was going to be able to be the number 1 player. He proved me wrong last year. But I just don't know if you can win a championship with James Harden as your best player. I just don't think that's possible.
After you pointed out that you've noticed his big game non-heroics.
Oh, that's 2 years ago.
And we
were watching together because that's what we do. And if you remember, that he did not want to shoot the ball at all.
He didn't want passed up a layup.
He didn't even want any.
Passed up a layup and LeBron stole it. Yeah. Turned into a points the other way. It was like he was scared to shoot. And Corey tells me this story about in college, Arizona State Temple.
That's right. That's right. That's a Temple alum.
He didn't score a point.
Yeah, no, he was scoreless from the field for sure. I think he had a few free throws, but he went 0 for 11, 0 for 12 against Temple in a first round game in the NCAA tournament. And I'll get you actually before we leave today. I will have the stats from James Harden from that game against Temple. Arizona State won the game, but that was really the first time I had gotten a chance to hear about the James Harden, and I just wasn't impressed. And actually, Justin, I have it right here. This is a 2009, and it was a 6-11 game. It was in Miami, Florida. It was a mid-afternoon game. The arena was almost empty, and this is Arizona State at their finest. And James Harden was 1 for 8 from the field. Wow. So in 34 minutes, he only got 8 shots up, and he had 9 points. He had 6 free throws, but 1 of 8 from the field. They had a guy named Jeff Pendergraph who plays in the NBA. He had 22, and they had this kid named Derek Glasser who had 4 threes who carried them to victory. Temple could not get anything going that game. This is a team with Serge Samaj Inge, Deontay Christmas. This is a Temple team that was just on the cusp of becoming good. But this is the James Harden that I was under the impression was going to change the world. And one of 8 just didn't do it for me in the NCAA tournament. So until I see him make some big shots when it really matters, I don't not like him, but I'm certainly not impressed with him. Look at that! We're taking a look at the previews here for the week football on ESPN.
Swami picking against the Eagles. How do you feel about that?
I don't watch ESPN anymore. I've become an advocate of Fox Sports 1, which I think is just an incredible show, incredible program. I think that they're working hard. Quick shout out to the Regis Philbin, Crowd Goes Wild crew. Katie Nolan gets a shout out in that as well, because she just does a fantastic job.
You have always been a Regis Philbin fan.
I've always been a Regis Philbin fan. The fact I get a childhood hero like Regis Philbin every day, and not only getting to see him every day, getting to see him with other people, younger people in a younger crowd talking about sports. So again, if you haven't started enjoying Fox Sports 1, you should. That's a shameless plug. But we needed a break, Justin. We have to break the ESPN hold on sports and sports media. And even though this is underground, because it is the basement observation, we're a part of that trend. So in the same vein as CBS Sports Network, NBC Sports Network, Fox Sports 1, we are dedicated to bringing you non-biased, ESPN-based news. So it might take you a time to get a hold of that, but it's for the better. It's for the better. Now, with that totally unnecessary rant out of the way, Justin, top 3 each conference NBA. What's it going to be this year? So when in June, when we're still doing this, regardless of how many people have listened to this, we'll still be doing this come June. We can go back and play here. What are your top 3 picks?
I would say...
Let's just top 3 for the season in the Eastern Conference.
Eastern Conference. Heat, Chicago, Indiana.
Heat, Chicago, Indiana. Okay. And then who is your conference final?
I would have Heat, Chicago.
Who's going to win?
Heat.
Okay, so the Heat over Chicago.
Yep.
So the Heat are in the finals. Who do you have in the West?
Clippers.
Clippers.
Yeah,
that's
Clippers,
good.
Yeah.
Okay, you got one.
I'm stuck between 2 and 3.
One.
I'm stuck between 2 and 3.
Do you have a 2?
Let's go Oklahoma City.
Okay. Who's the 3rd?
Memphis.
Memphis. Okay. Tony Allen fan. I love Tony Allen.
I'm just saying.
But I hate the fact.
I hate what they did to Lionel Hollins.
I literally did to Lionel Hollins is dirty, Justin. You know how I feel about that. You know how I feel, speaking of NBA people, you know how I feel
about John
Hollinger getting basically to dictate whether or not a NBA player and decades-old coach loses his job. Basically, John Hollinger, if you aren't familiar with this, John Hollinger played a significant role, to my understanding, in Lionel Hollins' firing. Lionel Hollins could not stand John Hollinger's presence, and that created a rift in the Memphis organization. And instead of backing up the coach, they backed up that rat, John Hollinger, who now, he created his own statistics, made a career off that, and now gets to work in professional basketball because of that. That's absurd to me. That's just outrageous. I have nothing else to say on it. You're upsetting me, but you purposely picked them at 3rd with that ridiculous pick just to infuriate me. Who wins in that conference final? Who's in your conference final in the West?
I'll take Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Memphis. Oklahoma City winning.
All right. Who wins your NBA finals?
Heat.
Oh.
3-peat.
What's the since you've had such an original final? What's the games?
What?
How many games?
6.
6. So Heat in 6 over Memphis.
No, Oklahoma City.
Oh, over Oklahoma City. Okay, over Oklahoma City.
And I messed up my conference picks in the. Or was it we picking our top 3 teams?
You're picking your top 3 teams in each conference. It's not complicated.
Okay. I was thinking divisions.
Do you want to make any changes? Do you want to do divisions? That's
No. I thought we were doing divisions for a second. I picked Chicago and Indiana.
Yeah, you can pick both of them. Yeah. No, I'm gonna have the. Honestly, I'm gonna have the Heat. I'm gonna have Chicago and the Pacers. But Justin, and I'm actually touching Justin right now. I'm actually holding his arm because this is gonna be a big one. This is a bombshell. I'm actually gonna have a little wrench thrown in. I think that Miami will lose in the second round of the playoffs. The second round of the playoffs to either the Pacers, or Brooklyn.
Okay.
I just can't see it. I just don't see it. And I think that I'm going to say it's the Pacers, and I'm going to say that Chicago is going to take the Pacers out in the conference final, and that Chicago will advance to the NBA Finals from the Eastern Conference. Now in the West, I'm thinking that it's going to be San Antonio in the conference finals, and then I think that the next two top teams are going to be the Doc Rivers-led Clippers, and then I think that the third best team is going to be the Rockets. I think it's going to be the Rockets. I think the more I thought about your remarks, actually, Justin, your remarks on the Kevin Durant situation and the lack of scoring with the loss of Kevin Martin, which I mistakenly did not acknowledge. I think that they're going to struggle. I don't think they can do it. I think that Kevin Durant, he's just bound to have an off year. He's just not physically built. I don't think he's physically built.
I think he blows up this year.
Yeah, oh my goodness! All right,
that's why I got him my championship.
Okay,
I got him the finals.
right, fair enough.
I need him to blow. I need him to have a Michael Jordan-esque season.
But not Michael Jordan-esque. Michael Jordan never lost in the NBA Finals.
I know.
Of all people, should know that.
That's Michael Jordan-esque season.
Yeah, S season. Fair enough.
Now
we didn't let me finish. So now we're gonna have this battle of Doc Rivers versus Greg Popovich in the conference finals.
That'd be a great.
That would be a great series, and I think that Doc Rivers, as good as he is, his lack of true basketball players in the front court will cost them. I think San Antonio gets back to the NBA Finals, and I think the Bulls take care of them. I say in 5. I'm going to say it in 6. We're going to say San Antonio is too good to go down without a fight. I think the Bulls win the NBA championship in 6 games. You heard it here first, and then in June we can all come back and celebrate. What an outstanding pick that was.
It's up in the air, man.
It is up in the air. It is. Justin, the Wizards. Justin's a Wizards fan. We went over that at the start. What are we looking at this year? You have one more.
Big trade today if you're a Wizards fan.
That's right. It was. If you're a Wizards fan, this is a Hawthorne trade.
Health issue way up in the air. They trade his expiring contract to the Phoenix Suns for Marcin Gortat, and he's coming over his expiring contract. We get an offensive player, a guy who can play center. Moving Nene to his power forward position.
He can stretch the floor, too. Gortat can shoot the 3. He did it for the Magic for years in the NBA playoffs.
The more we spread open the court with John Wall, the better. I really feel like we can make the steps in the right direction and make the playoffs. I see us as a 7th or 8th seed.
Randy Whitman led Washington back in the playoffs since
2008.
Since the Gilbert Arenas years?
2008,
Since the Gilbert Arenas years, right?
Jameson, Arenas, Caron Butler, big 3.
That was a big 3.
The big 3, the Wiz 3. No, I think the Wiz kids can do it this year. I think we can make the playoffs.
The Wiz kids.
Now I hope we do make the playoffs.
The Wiz kids came from a Philadelphia Phillies reference, the 1950 Philadelphia Phillies team that won the pennant because they were a young team. They lost to the Yankees. That's a total random fact of the day. But let's look at the Sixers. I think that Brent Brown is going to be an outstanding head coach. I mean, you're taking one of the top coaches and the top developmental coach from the San Antonio Spurs organization and putting him with a young developing core. Obviously, the Sixers are trying to tank this year. Everybody knows it.
Yes.
It's just the reality of the situation.
And this is the year to do it.
This is the year to do it. And I think it's actually going to help Evan Turner's growth. Because Evan Turner's going to be able to just play the game now.
He needs it.
Doug Collins was a fantastic coach, but Doug Collins expected perfection, and you can't get that from people who are growing. I think Evan Turner's not going to have the spotlight on him this year. I think this is the year that Evan Turner blossoms into a legitimate.
I hope so. I mean, I always feel bad for guys like
that. A legitimate top tier NBA. And I'm not saying in the upper level, but to a top tier NBA player.
A guy people talk about.
Yeah, a guy people talk about. No,
all-star snub.
Yeah, all-star snub. That's right. I like that. Brent Brown, I think, said it best this week. He said that they have 6 NBA players and a bunch of guys looking for a spot. I mean, that's what we have this year.
But you can't expect much.
But that's not necessarily true. You have to remember that Brent Brown coached the Australian men's team in the most recent Olympic competition, and he got them to the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
I'll
be asking a lot.
Now they beat Russia. Again, I'm touching Justin again. When I get excited, I touch Justin's arm. Now they beat Russia in pool play of the Olympics, and Russia was the story outside of the USA in basketball, men's basketball last year internationally. Russia was the story, and their coach David Platt, who no longer coaches the team, he stepped down, and people just thought that he was a life changer. and they lost. The Patty Mills led, Brent Brown led Australian men's team beat them, and then they played the United States in the quarterfinals. And they were down by, I believe, 16 or 18 at halftime, and they went on like a 14-0 run. They came out, they started a set play. I'll never forget it. They came out with a prepared set play for Patty Mills that Brett Brown drew up, where they had a drive baseline. Joe Engels, who is an outstanding player over in Spain, he was an Australian national. Joe Engels drove baseline, or Matt Dellavedova, who is the point guard for St. Mary's. This is who Australia was playing with. One of them drove baseline. They got a back screen for Mills to the corner, hit a three, stole the ball, got a bucket. They went on a 14-0 run. The USA had to actually call a timeout to settle themselves down, and then they eventually rallied them. And Kobe Bryant. I think this is when Kobe Bryant
went off.
I think when Kobe Bryant finally went off, hit some threes.
Good friends.
One of our close friends,
who absolutely loves Kobe Bryant,
obsessed with Kobe Bryant.
Off.
Yeah, I'm sure he was. But let's not give Kobe Bryant any time here. This is not ESPN. We don't do things like that. But the fact that Brent Brown was able to lead that team like he did was really outstanding, and I really think proves that he can work with curious talent. So I'm excited, obviously, for next year, not this year. But Brent Brown's going to do a fantastic job. Okay, Justin, this is the time of the day where we have to tell a random story. It's a staple right now of this very, very, very short-lived program. So, Justin, we're going to talk about a youth trip that we went on.
To Arizona?
Yeah, actually, we flew out to Arizona.
Your first flight?
No, it wasn't my first flight, but it was definitely. I definitely was not a worldly traveler.
It was our first flight after 9/11.
Yeah, it was our first flight after 9/11, and that was an experience. And actually, I decided to test the new security by wearing a double sombrero through the security line.
On the way home.
Yeah, for some reason, the security didn't like that. I don't know why. But Justin, this actual story, you're going to be the main teller of this because you keep these tales so close to your heart. Why don't you give us the background and the context?
Well, we had it was a 5-day retreat, and we actually took 7 days, so we had 2 free days. Well, one of the 3 days...
Your ability to remember these details is just astounding to me.
Well, so... Thanks, Corey.
Yeah. You're welcome. Sorry. Continue.
So, our leaders packed us all in these vans, probably like 60 kids, 60 people.
All together.
We start driving 2 hours.
Not one van.
No, we brought out 2 or 3 vans. I would say 2-3 hours driving.
That's what it felt like. We actually received the back massage from a male who did a fantastic job. He did a fantastic job, and that just proved to you how long this trip was.
I mean, it was rough.
Yeah, it was rough.
We get there, leaders go in, they're like, hey, we'll be right back. And we get there around 3:15. Leaders come back.
Where were we going? Did you tell them?
Tubing.
Yeah, tubing. Tubing down a nice river with canyons all around.
It was a beautiful drive, too. Well, we get there, 3:15, they go in, they come back. Sorry, we can't rent tubes. We close at 3. So we got 60 people here, we'll buy, you're going to make a ton of money. Sorry, we close at 3. It's 15 minutes, so we close at 3. So, so we drive 3 hours back to the hotel.
Yeah, but the important thing is, I want to point out this, we actually got to see firsthand what a Native American Indian reservation looked like. Because we drove past one, and it was just a fence, a Native American Indian reservation, and it was the most worthless land that you could give someone. And if that doesn't provide perspective to you, Dan Snyder, on the treatment of the Native Americans of this country, the fact that the only land we provide them was the land that was so unusable that we figured why not give it to them. And if you wonder why their entire livelihood is based around alcohol dependency and gambling, then you should take the trip that we took. But Justin, finish up the story for us.
So anyway, we end up just taking everyone back to the hotel. And earlier in that week, Corey and I made a very diligent effort to find a football to throw around.
This is true.
So we found one at Old Navy, believe it or not.
That's right, an old Navy in Phoenix, I think.
Yeah. So we go back and we have the time of our lives the rest of the day, tossing football and jumping in the pool. We would just throw anything. We would have the time of our lives. We probably didn't need to go tubing at all. We could have just spent the whole day at that pool and had a blast. It was honestly a great memory that I could share with my bud core.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Me and Justin have a number of stories.
Adventures.
Yeah, adventures. Really adventures that will be brought up over the course of this. Well, Justin, with that story being said, not Ted. Ted's a hilarious movie involving a stuffed animal. But with that story being said, I think we're about done here. So